another video that I saw in the YouTube recommendation system. So you see that when I was on YouTube again, browsing, they recommended this video at the corner. So I was wondering, hey, you can see what it says. It was a bit dodgy. It says, Jesus and his father pranked us. Sounds like, hey, what's going on? Let me just watch whatever the algorithm is recommending, and we go back and listen. So I haven't watched the video, and so it should be interesting. You can see there's no red dot on my thingy. So I just thought, what is this gonna be? And so let's go over there. It's the reality show with the daily Christian commentary videos. If it's the first time over here to be show, check out the other videos that are down in the pinned comments. Tomorrow it's Sunday. Remember what I did in January? You guys absolutely loved it. It was the songs thingy and whatnot. So don't worry. As long as I have lights, I'm going to do it from this week going forward. So this coming week, do expect one of those. You know, the one series that I was very sad about, it's the mixed masala. You know, I had so much planned around the mixed masala, but unfortunately, there was so much electricity issues, so I never got to actually make it. But that was a series I was very excited about. So let's go and see what this sister is saying when she says Jesus and his father pranked us. Uri, sounds serious. This is some serious stuff. What's up?
So today my question is this: what Jesus and his father did, was he a prank or was he a sacrifice? What Jesus and his father did, was he a prank or was he a sacrifice?
So, was it a prank or was it a sacrifice? That's what she's saying. Okay.
To me, as a critical thinker, and I don't know for you if you're a critical thinker, to me as a critical thinker, it's a prank.
Now, I could be a critical thinker and not believe that. That doesn't mean I'm not a critical. But anyways, to her, it's a prank.
It's not a sacrifice.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. If you go according to the story, this almighty entity, this almighty all-knowing God, he created the world and created human being that has no knowledge. They have no knowledge of anything. They are just like newborn babies. And put them in that garden. He created everything and said, oh, everything is good and perfect. So he put them inside that garden. And now, knowingly, he knows. And then put a plant, a fruit, a tree in the center of that garden. In the center of the garden.
Yes, it's in the
and told these two newborn babies that doesn't know their left from their right, not to go and eat from that.
Okay, wait. What's the accusation? Wait a second. Just a second.
That doesn't know their left from their right, not to go and eat from that.
Now, there's something she's blocking herself from. She's blocking herself from understanding that they were given everything else. There was only one thing they were not to do. They had everything. They could take anything else. They were only given one rule. This one thing, don't do. And so the same way you build a house, and in that house, there can be something that you tell your child, don't touch this. Okay? And so it's pretty much the same, but it's also free will. But we'll get to the free will part. So she's avoiding understanding that they had everything else, okay?
That's fruit. He knows that these are newborn babies, so that does not know their left from their right.
They did know something, because clearly the Bible does say that Adam just goes on to actually naming the animals, and so there was some knowledge that they had, okay? They were not like me and you version, okay?
And he told them, don't eat from this fruit too. Good. And And he was also the one that created the serpent that came and deceived these two newborn baby. He created this. That is this thing self. I don't understand. He was also the one that created that serpent that deceived these two newborn babies. The second mistake he made.
Okay, so it's God who made the mistake. So the responsibility that they had to not get themselves into that. After being told, you see, everything else you have. Like if you give someone everything else and they choose to go against the one thing that you said, this one thing just don't do. Is that honestly, is that an honest dedication or commitment? If you cut one thing you were told, don't do, you'd still do it. Everything else you have. And so to put the blame on God, no, you see, it's God's fault. He created all these things. No, they had, and they were, bear in mind, they already had the instruction from God. Why are they still listening to someone else? But anyways, let's continue.
Which was not the fault of human being.
It was not.
And the serpent deceived them according to you. Good and fine. And in his anger, because he knows he's unforgiving, quick to be angry, jealous.
There's a lot she's choosing. Just watch how she's choosing to avoid everything else. It was actually loving for him to keep them out of the garden. She's about to go to that point. Okay? But anyways, I'll explain why.
Deceived them according to you. Good and fine. And in his anger, because he knows he's unforgiving, quick to be angry, jealous. That's who he is. According to your Bible, no be me talking. In his anger, he started reacting. He started destroying. He started unaliving people. In his anger.
Who did he unalive? You see? So because there is a certain view she's holding, I want you to notice. You see, sometimes people tell you where they stand by how they phrase things. There's something she's blocking from her view that allows her to paint God this way. First of all, it is the humans that killed. It's not God. God didn't kill any human. God, even the one who killed, God said, keep him. It's not God that killed. So she's now twisting the elements in the story to fit this evil God. The reason why he kicked them out of the garden, it's because to keep them from living in death. That's the reason why he did that. He would want them to live in eternity, but in purity. But then, because they had done this, they were going to live eternally in death. So he protects them from doing that by kicking them out of the garden. That's reasonable. That's love. But because she's blocking. Continue.
He destroys. He unalive. He do this. He became so angry and so jealous. He started showing his true color as a narcissist. He started showing his true color as a narcissistic God. Good and fine. Now, it was not enough. He just sat down on that his throne and told himself, okay, what should I do? Okay, let me become my son. Let me become my son on the flesh and come down and sacrifice myself to this thing that I've committed. Instead of him to accept that it was all from him, it was his own mistake. He put it on us. Bam! He put it on you people, not even on us, because I don't believe in that cock and bull story. That story is not for me. He put it on you people, the Christians. Bam! He said, okay, let me come and die for their sins. Let me come as human being and die for their sin. He came in flesh.
You know, there's something else that she's blocking. I want to just mention before we listen further to her thinking. when you get into any form of relationship, even a child, in any sense of a relationship with you, there is a commitment there has to be. And so, what is this relationship that mustn't be governed by a commitment? Don't do this, don't do this. You who's making the video, and the accusations on God. You expect, when people get into any form of relationship with you, whether it be friends or what, you have things that you expect out of them. Now, God can't have that, right? Because that's what she's implying. Continue.
I said he's now his son. To sacrifice his son to himself, which he is the son. Yes, I know it may sound confusing, but that is how confusing it is.
Okay, but let's not get into the doctrinal part. Let's just listen to
the Bible. I said, okay, let me come and sacrifice myself. Okay, now this is the prank there. Okay, my son, go and sacrifice yourself. For 3 days, I will raise you from the dead, and I will give you the whole world. You will sit beside me on the throne, and you will have everything. God himself, God, the Son, then came down, claimed that he sacrificed himself for his father or himself for himself. And on the 3rd day, God rose himself, his son, from the dead. Is this a prank, or was it a sacrifice? Now, that one is not enough. I want to ask you something. You that is watching me now.
You know, I've noticed something in all these aspects. When a person has genuine questions, they generally become interested in the answers. She doesn't seem to be interested in the answers. Now, how do I know she's not interested in the answers? You will notice when she puts the question, she doesn't say how Christians answer that question. Genuinely. I mean genuine answers. She doesn't say, because she's never asked for anyone to answer those questions. We can answer them for her. You know, she can comment down in the comment section. I will alert her that I've done a commentary on a video in her comments. But did you ask what Christians believe concerning that? Because there seems to be a lot of what you think Christians believe, and it paints a certain image around thinking. What you're doing is no different to Pilate, asking the right questions, but not waiting to hear the answers. And so it creates this sense of confusion. But anyways.
Or was it a sacrifice? Now, that one is not enough. I want to ask you something. You that is watching me now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a president committed something out there, and he asks you to come and, instead of him to go to prison, he said you should go to prison for him. And that when you come back, you should spend 3 days or 3 years in that prison. When you come, that he will bring you out in the next 3 years. That when you come out, that is going to give you everything. In fact, you will be equal.
Okay. She's using a very weird example here because, Jesus and the Father, of course, they are one, but she doesn't have the right context for that. And so she's putting a precedent who's not related to you. But within the story that she's talking about, there is a relationship, a father and son relationship in there. So a president who's a random guy, he must go do his own thing. Okay. But then she's phrasing it wrong. She seems to do that a lot, like blocking, where there is a fact here, you see it, but you choose not to go that direction. There is a relationship between the two. It's not a random precedent.
To him, he will give you everything in the palace. You will have whatever you want. My dear brothers and sisters, won't you do it? You that is looking for money, won't you do it? 3 days now, 3 days. that they will bring you out and you will own everything. So is this a prank or was it a sacrifice?
All right, so that's where her video ends. So I think she still needs to find the answers for what makes it a sacrifice. And also she needs to build the idea of the right context for that relationship, you know. And we must be careful over what we deem as wrong because of our perception, because a lot of these things, they come from either be personal struggles. They can create an area where we block truth. We can block truth because of personal struggles. There are people who have suffered so much in their life, or maybe they were abused when they were younger or whatnot. Something happened around them and it can cause them to be in rejection of truth. And so you find that maybe she went through something that when she looks at it, she's thinking to herself, why did God allow this? I'm just giving a hypothetical example. I don't know the sister, right? This was the first video that I told you how it came about on my feed. You can find that the issue that you're really dealing with here is that the real question might be, there's something that you deem God should have done completely different. And the answers for all these questions that she's asking here are not really the center. These ones are just stray bullets, okay? These are just strays. The real core issue is, why did God allow this to happen? And so, the blame part here, that's me looking at. I'm not diagnosing. I'm not a professional diagnosis or counselor or anything like that. But why does she not have any interest in answering these other questions? And how do I know she's not interested right now? It's because she doesn't have the answers yet concerning all those things. And she's willing to misrepresent them while she presents them. You know, she brings it up, but she's willing to misrepresent. So in my view here is that we are dealing with a situation where you haven't sought the answers, the genuine answers for those things. So is it a prank? Is it a prank if we have not sought the genuine answers for the wrong? If we are going to blame God for what we ourselves do, like right now, you posted this video, you said this. Should God have stopped you from posting the video? He's God, right? Should God have stopped you instead of you misrepresenting him? No, but you have free will. So in the same way that you have free will to misrepresent God, it was the same with Adam and Eve. They had the opportunity to they had the option to misrepresent their relationship with God. It wasn't just a random precedent, you 3 days. So Jesus basically was there. So how she's putting it. So Jesus was there. He was promised all these things that he was going to go and do. Would you not do it? And so within that context, what was the inheritance? Let's go back to the Bible. What was the inheritance that Jesus would have, right? The framework that he just gave right now. What was the inheritance? Remember, Satan offered him an inheritance if he bows down to him. He rejected that. So the framework of, you want money, so we are implying that on Jesus. No, that was not the reward for Jesus. For Jesus, it was that his inheritance is the people. Mosquitoes, jeez. And so sometimes when you listen to people who have these questions, sometimes it's not really the answers for all these other things. Is that there's a core rooted issue, and until that core rooted issue is answered, you will remain in a debate. So my sister, the question I would ask is, have you sought the answers, the genuine answers concerning those things? Now we can do a live with you and then we'll be willing to answer some of these questions that you have. But you have to be legit seeking to find those answers. Otherwise, because I see one question here, out of all these questions, I see one question, not diagnosing or anything like that. I want to be very clear there. I see one question out of this. is that you have a picture of God that has done something wrong, right? That's pretty much it here. So question is, was there anything that God should have done differently to stop Adam and Eve? Or no, or is God making mistakes? Or are we talking about a wrong God or about a different God when we say God makes mistakes? You know, you phrased it to say, God is jealous, God is thingy, and so what's the real core question out of this? Thought that was quite an interesting one. And so sometimes when we listen to people's questions, we have to realize that some of their questions, it's not all these other questions that need an answer. The question is, why do you think God is the one that's guilty? That's the one that I would want to hear from her. Why do you think God is the one who's responsible? Why is it that I do something and God is responsible for that? Right? Yes, me and you are sinful beings. We do things that are contrary to His standards, right? And so when we do things contrary to His standard, based on the fact that He is creator and has a relationship with us, are we not obligated by the same right of you being a mother and having a child? Does that not therefore tell you that there is a certain level of commitment within this relationship, even the same thing that you would expect from a parent and a child? Just a quick, interesting question that I would have. It's Ricky. Other episodes done today, they'll be down in the comments. Y'all tell me your thoughts down in the comment below.